Jai Hind everybody. I am Dr. Rashmi Sharma from IT Department of Ajay Kumar Garg and Engineering College. Today we would be discussing the second critical topic of Unit 2, that is the importance of human characteristics. What are the different characteristics of the humans which are important in the designing of that particular system? Because whenever we are looking into that particular system or designing of that particular system, what all characteristics a specific human being or human characteristics are important to look into the design perceptions of any of the human system or the application which we are developing. So coming to the point, these are some of the things which we usually have in ourselves, but we don't recognize these particular characteristics. First is the perception. As this particular word is very familiar with each and every person, the perception differs from one person to another. So we have to look into some of the perceptions which should be same in each and every person while looking that particular system. That means when we are developing a system or an application or an interface, the view of that particular system should be same for each and every type of the user, whether that user is a novice user or an intermediate user or an expert user. Depending on that type of the user, we can have different hotkeys or the accelerators which we have discussed in unit 1, but the view of that particular system should be same. Secondly, if the configuration of that system is different, like we have the lowest configuration mobile phone or the desktop or the laptop, and the highest configuration also, the look and feel of that particular system, the view that user should get from that particular screen designing should be the same. Second point is memory. We will discuss into detail all these particular points. The third one is memory is the retention power of a particular user. Third one is visual acuity. Visual acuity is how deeply you can look into that particular system, that is related to eye. The perception was related with your mind. The memory was related with your mind. Then visual acuity is related to your sensing vision of the eye. Then phobia and peripheral vision, obviously phobia is looking into focusing on one specific point. जैसे हम कहें we are looking into the eye of that bird, चिड़िया की आंख देखना. In peripheral is you have to look the tree also of that particular where that bird is sitting on. So एक foveal is चिड़िया की आंख देखना, and peripheral is आप surrounding भी देख रहे हो, tree भी देख रहे हो और भी चीजें देख रहे हो. Then sensory storage, like when a person is coming to you and is having a hand like this, you obviously know from your childhood if anybody is bringing the hand like this means he is coming to hit you, he or she is coming to hit you. That then your reflex reaction takes place. So similarly in a particular system, each and every person knows that whenever you are entering into a system or an application, you should have a login ID password, that is the sensory storage. If you don't have that particular skin, you would be telling, oh, this is not a secure site. So you should have some particular information, sensory storage, which each and every particular system has. Or the home button is on the top left corner. Then the contact us is on the top right corner. So some of these particular storage are fixed into the mind of the users. Then comes the information processing. How do you process that particular information, and how you are retaining or learning that particular information comes into the learning. Then the skills, how these skills we can have for different users. So different types of users were novice, intermittent, and the third one is expert user. Then there can be individual differences. Obviously, depending on the type of users, you can have differences. Depending on the type of hardware you are using, you can have differences. Depending on type of operating system or the system, that is, if I tell you that you are using an Android system or you are using an iOS system, so there are individual differences in that particular thing. So we would be taking into consideration all these particular time one by one. So first is the perception. So perception has all these particular points which we have to take into consideration. So first thing is proximity. See, if for proximity, if I have a screen like this. In this particular screen, I would be displaying all these particular perception. One of my label is name. Okay, and this name is written in Times New Roman 10, and your password is written in Arial 10. So proximity tells me, or the similarity index tells me, that these two are having different views, different font faces and different types of font faces, so they would be looking different. But if this is 10 and I have this as a Times New Roman 11, so their proximity of that is similar. So if the font size only differs by specific points, you can have a view. Similarities, the Times New Roman is the same. Then you look into some of the matching patterns. So I think proximity and similarity is clear. Approximately same, proximities बहुत पास है. There is difference of where minute difference. For proximity we can tell you have minute differences. Similarities, I think everybody has studied the similar triangles. So even they are differing, but they have some proportion into that. Okay, so similarities, proportionality differences is one side is 2 and the another side is 4. So they are proportional by 1:2. Okay, so similarities, you have the same pattern but of different proportion. Proximities of a slight variation like 10 and 11 in the font sizes. Then the matching patterns. Obviously the matching patterns, nowadays we usually use AI techniques for matching that particular patterns. How many users are accessing which particular site? What all information they are doing it. So whenever you visit a particular site, it gives you information. You are this number of user, or you are 12,498 user to access this particular page. So that is, they are matching that particular pattern. What all users, who all users are coming to this? If they have the same demographic location, they have the same background, or they have the same interest or hobbies. So you have some matching patterns, and that is usually through your perception, through your eyes, and which in comparison with your brain. So this is a collaboration of your eye and brain which gives you the perception. Then associativeness, that is how different you are making, and if the system crashes suddenly, then what can be the proactive action which the site can take it, or what can be the preventive action that particular site can take. So you have to see what all things can create a suicide in that particular system or the application. Then the closure, each and every site, when you are clicking this particular cross button or a minimize button, it has some specific actions, and when you are having this particular action, when you are doing it, this cancel button, so it tells, do you want to save the information? So what has to be the closure action of that particular site when you are doing it? Then you can have the unity. When you are having this unity, means this particular site has same nomenclature in each and every pages, or even when you are navigating through each and every pages, the system should have same collaboration, same font face, same color, same family to be used. So unity is in a sync, it should be there. There should be no difference of this 10 and 11 differences should also not be there. Okay, then comes continuity. Obviously when you are doing something, for example, for this continuity I can give you the example of any of the shopping site. If you have added some item to the cart, and after 2 or 3 days you again re-log in on that particular site, and you are able to see that particular item added to your cart, even that particular item is sold out, they are having that continuity to be maintained in that particular site. That site is an example. What continuity we want? Where we have left, now we can start from the same location. So where you have left last time, you are starting from the same point, that is the continuity. Obviously then comes the balancing, that the site should be balanced. Means if I tell you that I have this as a page 1 and another again as a page 2, so if I have 8 components, I cannot have 20 components on this particular page. This would be imbalanced. So I have to keep a balance on each and every side. For again balancing, I can give you the example of the same site which we have looked for the balancing. If you are on specific, assume that when you are searching something, if I search the home accessories and it gave me result as 98 options were selected. So they would approximately take 10 items per page. Okay, 10 items per page, and you would be having 10 pages, 10 this buttons, so that you can, or you can have tabs as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So all these tabs, for each and every tab you would be having 10 items, and for this you would be having 8 items. So that is the balancing which they usually do. That is not the case if it is this 8, so they would overload this with 18. No, they keep a balancing in each and every page, so that you can, or if they are not having these different pages, so they usually, when it is a single page, you get an option of more items. I think everybody might have seen these particular things when you're adding some particular items to your shopping cart. Then expectancies. What are the expectancies of a particular user? With what that particular mindset user is coming to your site or your application, are you able to fulfill that particular thing? For example, if I come with an expectancy that you should have a very secure system, nobody should be able to access my credit card or the account details. So I should obviously provide that particular security, privacy to the user. And in that particular context, all those particular information should be on a temporary basis. Like you have an OTP for each and every transaction. So either you have a shopping site like the Amazon, you are searching on some particular appraisal or a human furniture, the home furnitures. So on that particular home furniture also you are going to a bank site. If you are having something for your bathroom accessories, again you are going to a bank site. So the context should be the same. Whenever you want to do a payment, you have to have a bank details. Then whenever you are having some particular signals, then you should know if that particular signal is actually a signal or that is a noise. What do we mean by noise? Noise is signal attached with glitches or with spikes. So normal signals attached with some type of unappropriate information or data, that becomes your noise. So I can tell you that all those particular ads which are coming into your system are some sort of noises which are in that particular website, because whenever you cross that particular ad, it would be saying stop seeing that particular ad. Why do you want to stop it? It's not relevant to me. So those are approximately the distracting factors in that particular site. So you should have all these particular perceptions or a mindset while looking into the system when you are developing. Next comes your memory. This was the first one, the perception. Now the second one is memory. So when we are looking into the memory of any person, then we usually, memory is not the most stable of human attributes, as anyone who has forgotten why they have worked, usually we forget. हम बोलते ना, अरे मैं भूल गया क्या हमें याद, हम क्या किस काम के लिए यहाँ आए थे. So there are sometimes we are stuffed up into so many work that we forget for what work which have to be done just now. So all these are some type of memories which we have in our mind also. हम कभी कभी देखते हैं कोई बच्चा, अरे इसे तो हमेशा ही भूलने की आदत है. So these are some of the things we usually come across many students, many people in our life. So there are some person who have very short term memories, or the working memory is very short. They have, like वो चिड़िया की आंख देखना, वही, they have to do the work, they make a to do list and they do that particular work. Long term memory means you know, अरे उसने उस दिन मुझे ये बोला था. So this is the long term memory. That is, you are having that memory even though it is a long back by 5 years or down the line by 10 years. You remember that particular student or my classmate has told me that, or that relative told me that. So that comes out to be the long term memory. So you can have all the memories. Here you can have the bitter memories also, or you can have the good ones also. You don't forget to write the alphabets which you have learned in at the age of 3 or 4. So you know how to count the numbers, you know how to write the alphabets, you know how to write the Hindi alphabets. You have learned that particular at the age of 3 or 4. So that is a long term memory which has been saved in your mind. Whenever you are writing, you would write into any of this alphabet of Hindi or English, or you count by numbers in Hindi or English. So this is the long term memory. This is short term which you want to remember it. Like in the case of the exams, you usually mark up for some of the things, and no, this won't be used in our life, so we don't have to remember. Similarly, DSA, that is the data structures, you want that it should be known by for longer time, so you keep that particular data structure subject in your long term memory. Then comes the mighty memory. This mighty memory is that gives me a calculation. Whenever you are doing a calculated thing, that either you want to do this, what would be the advantages? If you don't do this, what would be the losses? When you are calculating this and then giving the weightage to some specific thing, that comes under your mighty memory. So you have a clear picture what you have to do, even though somebody has done something wrong with you. But if you also do the wrong thing, then what is the difference between you and me? So that is called as the mighty memory. This sensory storage are your reflex reaction, which I told you. If somebody is bringing your hand like this, or I'm coming and poking this into your body part, then you will, no, I don't want it. So this reaction is the reflex reaction. That is the sensory storage which is being saved in each and every cell of your body. So same informations you have in your particular site also. I think each and every student here accessing any web application might have seen you have some, whenever you visit a particular site first time, it tells you, do you want to accept these cookies, yes or no? If you accept that cookies, they keep some basic information stored, your basic information stored in that particular website. But if you don't accept those cookies, it won't store your information, and as well as it won't show all the information to you also. So whenever you are accepting those cookies, you always get an autofill option there. So that is the memory which I want for long term. If I don't accept this, then that is a short term memory. Some of the sensory storage, whenever you take the decisions at that particular point of time, either I have to pay the amount or not, either I have to buy it or not, I have to use this particular card or not, I have to use UPI or not. So these are some of the sensory storage and the mighty memories which you are using in that particular system, and which we require it. Then comes the visual activity. As I told you that this is this this is the eye sense which we are taking into consideration of a human being. So visual acuities assume that the average viewing distance of a display screen is 19 inches. The size area of this screen optimal visual level is 1.67. So if this is 19 inches screen, then in the depth you can have 1.67 inches penetration. So this is the length which I can tell you, and this is the depth which we are looking into that particular screen, the visually how we can view that particular screen. So we have to design this particular system depending on our eye perception also. Then for this particular we have assumed an average character size and the character line spacing. We have to assume all these character sizes and the character line spacing for a particular system, whether it should be 1 or it should be 1.15 or 1.5. So the number of characters on the screen falling within this particular visual activity. This visual activity of was this on a 19 screen, the depth. So you have a circle of that is 88. When you count these particular characters, all these numbers, these are 88 numbers with 15 characters in this particular line. This has 15 characters in a line. So this is 15, this is 13. I think this is 1, 2, 3, 3, 6, 3, 9 and 11, and this is 9. And count it. So those total are 88 accuracy circle. Whenever you look at, you are able to have a look at this particular 88 characters when the widest line is having 15. If the widest line is having 13, then the number of characters reduces by 15. So this is the penetration power of your visual acuity which you have in a system. Then comes the foveal and the peripheral vision. As I told you, foveal is चिड़िया की आंख दिखना, focusing on specific thing. So foveal is used to focus directly on something, and the peripheral is So area surrounding where the which are looking. वो चिड़िया जहाँ बैठी है वो पेड़ भी देखना और भी दूसरे पक्षी देखना, वो फल भी देखना. So the difference, this is the basic difference which is usually asked in a 2-marker question in AKTU. So that is foveal and the peripheral vision. Foveal is focusing on specific thing, peripheral is looking into the surrounding areas also. So it provides clues to where the eye should go next. When you are having a blinking area, blinking thing with a different color which attracts your eye, you know you have to switch your vision from this location to this location, or either from this point to this point, because this point was a normal color, but यहाँ आपके पास you have something highlighted or blinking, so your eye goes to that catchy area where it is being, so that becomes, this is your foveal area and this is your peripheral area. So the foveal and the peripheral vision has a cooperative and a competitive nature. Mori and Hayashi experimentally evaluated the effect of windows in both. So performance of foveal window deteriorates when there are peripheral windows. So obviously you lose that particular focusing. So when you're deteriorating means you have some distractions, and when these particular distractions are there, obviously the performance degradation would take place. So performance degradation is even greater if the information of peripheral is dynamic. See, if I told you you have this particular screen and I have some of these area as the foveal vision, and here this was a peripheral region, peripheral area. In this peripheral area I have a movie running, or I should say a video running, or some sound is going on, or you have a blinking thing, any one of these, obviously your eye would leave this area and would come to this area and get attracted with all these things. So that is not attraction, but that is a distraction from your foveal vision area where you have to concentrate. So with this distraction the performance also deteriorates. So you have to see what are different ways where you should avoid this particular distraction in your human beings. Then the sensory storage is a buffer where automatic processing of information is collected from our senses take place. Like the cocktail party effect. So whenever you have, you go to that particular thing. Or you can say, I know iske baad yahi karna hai. I'm habit of doing that. Okay, like you have a habit that each and every window which is being opening has a cross button on the top right corner of the window. So on the top right corner, you have a habit of looking into or placing your mouse there and closing that particular window. That is the sure short thing which you have, so that you don't require any second thought for this. That is habituation, or you got acquainted. User is comfortable in that particular zone. Okay, so you have to make, here you have all those file. If you make a file option here and a cross option here, user won't visit your site again, or अरे ये site is थोड़ी गड़बड़ी बनी है. So these are some of the things, because our mindset has that particular storage in our mind or in our sensory nerves. Then information processing, high level is slow and sequential. Obviously, like in the memory, आप एक पॉइंटर से पकड़ते हैं और वहां तक जाते हैं. whenever you get that particular information, you drag it out. And for low level, the work is done in parallel sections. अब दो चीजें, when you are doing two works at a time, then it becomes a parallel computing. Then subsequent screens are there where you can look multiple screens. We look rather than we see. Obviously there is a difference between looking and seeing it. We look is, we don't want to remember. When we see, then we want that thing should be somewhere in our back of our mind. So there is difference between looking and seeing. Looking is एक नजर मार दो, एक नजर मार दो is looking, ध्यान से देखो is seeing. Then perceiving is, you have made some ideas or some views on what you have seen. जब आपने देखा तो कुछ आपके बैकग्राउंड में चला उसको देख के, that is perceiving. एक झलक देखना is looking, कुछ देख के रिमेंबर रखना is seeing, और उसको देखने के बाद, रिमेंबर रखने के बाद आपके दिमाग में उसको देख के कुछ चला is perceiving. Okay, and if something is visually distinctiveness in the screen is important for this lower level. Obviously you might have seen on your AKTU site also, when some new circular comes, it has this circular number and you have an option as new that is blinking. so that your eye gets distracted too. You know that this is something different and I have to look into. So visual distinctiveness should be there so that you can process that and feel. Obviously, when you look this as a blinking and a different color with a new, then you go and click this particular circular and you look into that because you have been got activated. If some new circular comes and it doesn't have this new option, you won't open and look into it, even though it is dated for today. That is the visual perception which we have in our mind, that our information won't get processed because it is not having this new in, on the right hand side. Then comes the when all these things which we are considering, that we have this particular mindset and we are looking into view, perceiving में कुछ दिमाग में चलना चाहिए, everything. There are some of the mental models which we have to keep into mind while developing any of the system. Obviously each and every human being has some mental models in it. हम कहते हैं ना इसका और मेरा ट्यूनिंग मैच नहीं करती, because we both are running on different frequencies. So what are the mental makeup meant? What are the different frequencies on which each and every person runs is different. So as a result of our experience and culture, we developed mental models of things and people, what we interact. We decide what all cultures which we have, what all I should say sanskar we have on those particular things. We make up some particular model and that models help us in looking into that particular application. So mental model is simply an internal representation of person's current understanding of something. So what a person understands, whenever I would make something, that would be obviously perception which I have about something. If you tell me to draw a house, then I would surely draw a house with a land, and no, I won't make a multi-story building, because for me the house is with the land, with the roof. I have an independent house even though I'm staying in a flat system. But the house for me from my childhood, because my dad and mom use and my in-laws also use there, so house is that. So the perception is that, so that varies from a person to person and that tells the current understanding of something. So similarly would be different in the programming field also. So person cannot describe their mental mode and most often is unaware even exist. So mental models are gradually developed in our understanding something, explain things, makes decisions or do something or interact with other person. So these helps with we always interact with some person with a mental mindset. So mental models also enable a person to predict the actions necessary to do things if the action has been forgotten or not yet encountered. So for these mental models is simply an internal representation of person's current understanding and the experiences. So key forming is you should have a consistency in that particular design. If the user has a specific mental model, then obviously that mental model, he comes with that particular perception or that mindset, and that mindset has to be fulfilled into it. Then comes the movement controls. Once data has been perceived, we have perceived that data. See, we have seen look, then we have seen see, then we have seen perceive. Then when we have perceived, then we take particular action. So that for that action, we get some particular response. And for that responses, you should have some particular movement. This responses is in terms of click, or action will be in terms of click or navigate, anything you can have. So you have different things. So in computer system, movements include such activities like pressing the keyboards, moving the screen pointers by pushing the mouse, rotating the trackball or the mouse button. These are some of the movement controls which we can perform. So coming to this particular perceptions which we have seen, that what are the different things which we have. So first of the things was visual acuity, sensory organ, information processing. So we have completed these particular points. So in the next video we would be considering the learning skills and individual differences and what is the importance. Perception is how a user look. Memory, we have considered 4 types of memory: the short term, the long term, the mighty memory and the sensory devices. For acuity, for a 19-inch screen, we have a 1.67-inch acuity, that is the depth which we can look into it. So this is the circle of 88 characters which we usually look into it. Then comes the foveal and the peripheral. For this difference, you should have a chidiya dekhna या चिड़िया की आंख देखना और आसपास के पेड़ देखना. This is the चिड़िया which you are looking, and this is the tree or the fruits, different birds which are sitting on the tree which you are looking into. This is very important for a 2-marker question in AKTU. Then the sensory, the spontaneous reaction, the habitual reaction of that, and how do we process this particular information on different basis, how we get this particular output, and how we make these particular mental models for information processing. In the upcoming video, we would be discussing about what are the different learning skills and the individual differences. Thank you.